In Buddhism, even when reaching higher planes of light, felt, believed that none of us are free until all of us are free. So a bodhisattva is a spirit who has devoted their life to the liberation of others. So that's who I am. And why I'm here is for the sake of liberation, of course. That's what I will begin to talk about. Liberation and enlightenment are two concepts that are closely related. And before I go into that, I think it's important that we see where we went wrong. So I've noticed, of course, as a spiritual seeker who is a third generation spiritual leader, who devoted my life to the study, being a 13-year yogini, a 10-year qigong practitioner, a master's in divinity, as someone who devoted themselves to spirituality, to the seeking of the spirit, I understand enlightenment and liberation to have multiple facets, to have a more meta or trans level context. For some, it has to do with nirvana, right? I guess it's always nirvana, reaching this highest point of ascension and deepest understanding of the meaning and flow of life, full resonance, harmony, coherence, and that's true. But where that gets a little lost is in this context of individualism versus collectivism. And this isn't an either or. This is a both and it just so happens that our individualistic drive is being more highly conditioned. And that's because of colonization, which, don't worry, we'll get very deep into that. The colonization basically means that, just like colonizers, countries or nation states that went places and brought themselves and conquered, it's also a conquering that happens internally. It's like a conditioning to the mind, to the perception of reality. The colonization inherent in liberation or enlightenment is that it's about me, it's about my soul, it's about my path, and that's true, but that kind of thinking leads to climate change, because if you're only concerned with yourself and your own spiritual enlightenment, I guess you're not really considering like 7 generations into the future or the whole of Earth. So that's where having some integrated understanding of collectivism is really important. That yes, I'm here and liberation is about my soul, but in the same respect as I introduce myself as a bodhisattva, liberation is also about others. And liberation theology, as understood in the study of religion, is actually looking at religion from the lens of what's real, what's really happening with people. How does something like scripture create purposeful action for the sake of those that need to be liberated? So this is this perfect integration between I free myself, but I also free others, because others maybe suffer more than me, and so I have a responsibility to them. And especially if I consider myself a creature for the sake of liberation or enlightenment. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings in all worlds be free and happy. These are some core level prayers that go hand in hand with traditions that teach you about this concept of enlightenment. So, actually, you can find it in all religious traditions. Take Christianity, which is very mainstream, but Jesus was a liberator. He worked with marginalized people.